Indexing, the most powerful tool, and the last one you will use as you complete your long document. The historic card catalog at the Library of Congress, which I don't even know if they still have, is an excellent way to introduce indexing. Indexing is a vital job to help readers find topics within the main text. A good index should be thorough and clear, like this one from the American Society for Indexing. If anybody knows about it, they do. The process of compiling an index means to review the document and mark which words will show up at the end as a main entry or a sub-entry, with the page numbers where the word appears. This allows the reader to have easy access to specific information that they seek. You determine what words will be indexed and how. We recommend that you create a two-level index with cross-references as needed. For example, a last name would be a main entry, level 1. Then each of the first names would be a sub-entry, level 2. You can mark words or phrases to be entries, sub-entries, or cross-referenced, where you can first mark the phrase for main and sub-entry to give them at least one page number in the index, then go back and cross-reference the unusual, differently spelled, or unusually phrased terms to match the common term that is already indexed. Cross-referenced items will not add a page number. It's a treasure map within the index to help the reader track down where else information could be hiding. The American Society for Indexing suggests that you print out a hard copy of your document to mark. Now, if you have 1,000 pages, maybe no. But if you have 27 pages, not a bad idea. Here's where you can use paragraph line spacing options. Remember that to make it double. And a pencil with a big eraser. Mark it up with your indexing choices. Do not use pen. Last names are obvious main entry choices, little M's for main. But what should we do about the sub-entries? Our goal is to follow a uniform style. So you need to make decisions regarding indexing names. Write down what you decide in a list or style manual. We'll give you suggestions. For example, to be consistent, choose which name variation you prefer to show in your index. First name only, first and middle, initials only, with dots, without dots. A lot of decisions you have to make, but you only have to make it once. Then put it in your style manual and make sure you follow it every single time. For family or last names, mark at first level like we just saw. For women, use maiden name cross-referenced with her married name. Nicknames appear with first names and can be shown in quotes. What if 2 or more people have the same name? I'll give you 5 options for identifying them. Do not mix or match. Just pick the one you will use and stick with it. You can add an and TOEFL numbers as a superscript. Only if you know what they are and where to find them. If you don't know what an and TOEFL number is and you don't know where they are in your database, don't use this. To make a number or any text superscript or small and above the other text, select the text and use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift plus the plus sign. It's hard to say. This is another one that I have memorized. You can also find it on the Home tab in the font section. By the way, minus sign makes it subscript, but you probably won't be using that. Another way to identify people with the same name is to add birth and or death date to tell them apart. Or add location or occupation as an identifier. So it will go with their name so we know which one we're talking about. Of course, you can add junior or senior or a generation number. I have 8 James Bellews, literally 8 in order, 8 generations. And then I realized why they give king's numbers, because they all have the same name. Notice this is different from the and TOEFL number because it has TH, 8th, like Henry the 8th, right? And TOEFL numbers, you don't say 8th, you just say 8. And when you're counting generation numbers, does it start with you or with them? And you choose. And I can't tell you which way to go. But if you're doing a history report that's starting from, for example, your immigrant ancestor, then I would start counting from them. Otherwise, you'd count from yourself. If you're starting with you in the book, then you'd go the other way. And finally, nobles or royals use their house or dynastic name as the last name, like Tudor or Windsor, like today. Use titles after their first name, but use them sparingly. Like, this is the King of England's title. I wouldn't use that whole thing, right? Like the Earl of Moray is also the third Lord of Doon. Doon, I don't know how it's pronounced. But anyway, Moray, I think, is more important because that's what his sister, who was the Queen Mary, Queen of Scots, gave him that title. So that was more important to them. If you really need to use the entire title in the index. All right, enough on same names. What if a name is unknown to you? As a standard placeholder, brackets around 3 dashes on either side of a question mark. That's that image there, the first one. I'll give you 2 options for names with multiple spellings. Pick one. Again, don't go back and forth. Option 1 is to group variations under one spelling and then use it consistently. That means you have it in a file that you can just copy and paste every time you say Baloo. You'll have all of them in there. Or option 2, for names with multiple spellings, use cross-reference. Either way, you determine the preferred spelling. In my case, Baloo is the correct and preferred spelling, but it has appeared in census as balloon and blue. And so just because they might be looking at some of those records, I want them to know it is all Baloo. It will never be blue. It will never be balloon. Those were just misspelled. For place names, use states at the first level and county or city at the second level. But let's say your entire book is about relatives only in New York, then use county as a first level and city or town as a second level. Cross-reference historic names that have changed in lesser known locations. See, a lot of people may not know the Frankhauser farm was in Iowa. Of course, me and my immediate family do, but other extended family might not know that. So just go see Iowa. It's listed in Iowa. If you determine that you really need 3 levels in your indexing system, you can have it. Add it in the sub-entry field after a colon. Be sure to add that to your style guide too, so that you say, we'll always show the county with the city after it. And then you're going to have to look up all those counties and have all those cities in there. You have to do it the same way. Consider adding a main entry like family lore and memorabilia for miscellaneous information. Doesn't have to be that long of a title, but other stuff besides just names. And other choices like archaic or ethnic names, how to display numbers. AP, the Associated Press style that I used to have memorized when I was a professional writer, tells us to spell out the 1-digit numbers of 1 to 9 and 10 or higher write as numerals. Some style guides say that you spell out everything under 100. I mean, so you decide how you want to do it and be consistent. I have seen documents, books that have numerals and spelled out numbers in the same paragraph. 3 spelled out and as a numeral in the same paragraph. No, never, never, never. Pick one. If variant spellings are common, like Smith and Smithy, combine them into one entry. You can do that just by using the parentheses. That's just to show for both Smith and Smithy. Make your own choices and create your own guide. If you're going to write a book, do it right. And this is the way professionals do it. You don't have to do any of this. And it can look like, grandma's old writings instead of like a professional book that you're proud to share. And I have to tell you, I know these things. I've done them my whole life, but I didn't do it on my own family tree book. I did not. That was my first one, and it's my worst one. I've done several since for clients, and I guarantee theirs are better than mine. So I'm going to have to redo mine one day because I'm embarrassed now because it's not that good.